Gets it to LeBron for three for the win. Yes! LeBron James at the buzzer!
Gordon cuts through. They go to Barrett. He'll turn and shoot for the win. Oh!
Bingo!
Right off the bat, I realized that our intro says LeBron James making a clutch shot. And it's interesting. How you doing, man? You good?
Can't complain. Yeah, doing well.
Right off the jump, he middle of the week, he tips in the game winner. Everybody goes crazy. LeBron's the GOAT, the greatest. He's amazing. Look, he still got it. 40 years old. Blah, 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 blah. The next game, talk about a bad 10 seconds. He's the one out of position, chasing down. I think it's Kobe White hits the three in the corner as he's diving, trying to stop him. He then throws the most inexcusable inbounds pass, lazy to the wrong spot. Just like it wasn't like a great defensive play. He just, this is why he's the all-time leader in turnovers, and everybody says, oh, it doesn't mean anything, but it kind of does. He is then nowhere to be found. Did you see him on the last offensive sequence where Austin Reeves goes and scores?
Yeah, he was basically, was he like stuck in the corner, right? Like he was, just nowhere.
Not even a decoy. He's just like sitting at half court watching. And my favorite part is he doesn't move. He literally stands there at half court, watches Austin Reeves score the bucket, and stands at the same spot as the inbounds, I believe, goes to Kobe White, who reverses it back to Josh Giddey, who then he does not step up to pick him up. He just lets him dribble up, get his momentum, and shoot it right in his face, a half-court buzzer beater to win the game. Like maybe the worst sequence a superstar player has ever had the misfortune of having to go through. Am I right? Am I wrong? Am I being too hard on him? Because if it's going to be like, wow, he's so amazing to get the tip-in winner at 50 years old. Of course, he can have those moments. He's 50.
It's just one of those things where not only was it a tough sequence, this has been a tough stretch for LeBron overall, and obviously he's coming off the groin injury, so like that's definitely not an easy injury to recover from in the short term, especially when you're 40, as everyone keeps on establishing, which it's not a bad thing at the end of the day. But if you're going to put him in these talks and talk about how amazing he is, you have to at least you have to bring in the good with the bad. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that has to happen. But what is it? The past few games, he just hasn't been playing well at all. Like even in the game that he had the tip in, what was that? Like I don't even know what he was from the field. He only had like 13 points though, or whatever. And then he follows up with after that just having a complete meltdown, and just enough nothing. It's against the Bulls at the end of the day too. Like I know the Bulls are a fun team to watch. They're kind of like the team that like them along with the Blazers. They're like the teams that are they were tanking at the beginning of the year, and now that they now that they have no shot at winning Cooper Flag stage, they just have nothing to lose, and they're just playing like a bunch of fun basketball. At the end of the day, though, when you have when you're trying to win a championship, you have two debatably top 5 players in the league, and they just haven't been playing lately. Like all the talk about the Lakers has been like being contenders, which I still think they are, and I'm sure we'll dive into that later. I'm not saying hit the panic meter, but at the very least, it's alarming at the very least.
Yeah, to kind of piggyback what you said about the game, the tip in the winner. He plays 38 minutes. He's 4 of 12. So not a good night. 0 of 3 from 3. Still 10 rebounds, 13 rebounds, 7 assists. So give him credit. He did other things, right? He was a +5. But he ended up with 13 points. Obviously the 2 being the most important. And then, like I said, and then the next night, it's not like he was playing a great against the Bulls either. Like again, like not that statistics are the only thing that matters, but he's 8 of 20, 0 of 5 from 3. So he's 0 of 8 from 3 in his last game. For a guy who's turned himself into a really good 3-point shooter, he does go on these stretches, right? Like I think he started in the beginning of the season. Remember, there was like a 25 3 misses in a row or something along those lines. Now he's on another at least 8 misses. So he goes 8 of 20, 0 of 3 from 3. Again, 12 assists. So he's doing other things. He's facilitating more, 5 rebounds, but he's a -10 with 17 points.
Wow.
And it looks more and more like it is going to be the Luka and Reeves show. And the thing with Braun that we've seen since day one is that he struggles to be the guy off ball. He struggles not being the man, right? We said like 2011 was a great example. Wade's the man, he completely disappears. He has to be the one with the ball in his hands, or else he looks pedestrian.
He's gotten better. Yeah.
To be honest, am I being too hard on him?
I wouldn't say you're entirely wrong. I will say, however, that was an extremely valid criticism of him, like early Cleveland LeBron, like he was like horrendous off the ball. Like it was like that was like his main knock is that like it was his free throw shooting and his inability to not necessarily an ability, but like part of what
the first stint in Cleveland.
Yes.
Well, yeah. A young player who had no post up game, no mid range, couldn't hit free throws, and couldn't hit threes at
so that's one of the main talking points in the GOAT debate is that Jordan really didn't have a ton of weaknesses to his game, like at least that didn't hurt his team in the long run, like LeBron did in his free throw shooting and his inability to move off the ball. LeBron not necessarily move off the ball, but like be like an asset off the ball, which LeBron, which he has. I would say like he was at his best in that probably. I guess you could say probably like when he was paired up with the guy like Kyrie who can like find his own shots while also being able to like pass it up like whenever things weren't going well. He also in the early days with AD to where he could kind of like just dump it in the post and then he can kind of like move off the ball from there. But now that he's with a guy like Luka, who's far more, he's the most ball dominant guy that he's ever been with. He's probably like the closest thing to LeBron that we've had, strictly from an offensive standpoint. It's at the very like it's like we said from the beginning, it's going to take some time for them to adjust, and we're seeing the growing pains in it now after exiting the honeymoon stage is what it seems like.
It's funny, they call him Luka Magic, and I always say this, and I'm going to start a series, I think, and do it a little bit more in depth. But like the comparison of LeBron to Jordan, I always say is very inaccurate. It's a difficult comparison, like as a player, because when I look at them, I see the evolution of Magic being LeBron, which is, he could have been just a super athletic Magic.
Right.
And then Luka is like the same thing, but less athletic again, right? Like just in terms of the ball dominance, but he chose to be something else, or he was able to be something else, I think, because of the rule changes and kind of it opened up. And with his athleticism, it's like, well, I can just get to the rim. I'm just going to do that. Like LeBron's a guy who should have been, like Magic, averaging 10, 11 assists a game. And he had, I don't want to get too deep into kind of this conversation, but that's who he could have been. And it would have been at the expense of a couple of points. Like he probably would have averaged 24 a game, 25 a game, and 10 assists. But I think that's a better LeBron than 27 and 7. And it sounds ridiculous. Like it doesn't seem like that much, but it's huge, because there were times where he cost his team games, which cost his team the series, because he had guys who were actually knocking down shots or were scoring down low, were dominating down low. And just because of the flow, instead of, hey, let me be the facilitator, I'm going to take, I always bring up that game, I think it's game 6, where he goes like 10 of 30. This game, it's game 4. It's when okay, not as relevant, but there's more. But
which year are you talking about? Like, what's year?
07 when they got swept.
07, okay, yeah.
But there's examples in 07, 08, 09, 10, 11. Like, there's literally like every single year you can do this. But it was the first one that popped into my head was 07 game 4 where they get swept. Now, would they have ever beaten the Spurs? Nah, probably not. Actually, no, they wouldn't have. Let me be definitive. No, they wouldn't have beat the Spurs. But game 4, you go 10 of 30, 2 of 6 from the free throw line in a 1-point loss. Not that now you don't have Larry Hughes. I get it. Not the other guys aren't playing great either. However, there's an opportunity there for you to do that, for you to do better. There's because someone was brought up 2009 against the Celtics, where he's got 9 turnovers and he shoots 28%. And they're like, well, what was the rest of his team doing? So the rest of his team shot 50% from the field, and they had 7 turnovers combined. The other 4 starters shot it was 48%. I rounded up. 48%. You shot 28%. You had 9 turnovers. They combined all 4 of them for 7. That's an opportunity where you need to step back, and that's when you should be diverting and passing to the other guys, because you're just, listen, you don't have it. So what we're seeing, fast forward, why is that relevant? I'm seeing that version of him where his inability to just let other people be in control. Like he lost interest. Oh, it's an Austin Reeves play that I'm just going to stand here at center and do nothing. Whereas if he's in the play, he's probably crossing half court. And guess what? Just by circumstance, he's probably picking up Josh Giddey, or at least slowing him down. And now you win that game. Mm-hmm. Like it's a game of inches and a couple of feet. He takes 2 steps in. It's a different, right? Like, does Josh Giddey hit a 3/4 court 3 for the win? Okay, maybe, but less likely.
He just walked into it. Like, it was, it was basically like it was almost as if it wasn't Reeves who missed the shot. It was almost as if some guy missed a free throw, and then he gave like 1 extra pass. Like it was like easier than that. It's like a guy literally just made a clutch shot, which I know some people can push back against that and say that in a way that's easier to make a clutch shot because they're not focusing on that. But at the end of the day, like it's like a dead possession at the end of the day because like you still have to inbound the ball, you still have to do all that, but like, yeah, it was pretty much like a guy just missed a free throw and like the guy had the momentum from like grabbing the rebound and checking it back.
Yeah. So, well, he choked again. The Bulls, and listen, if the Bulls have their number, the Bulls just have their number. Like, I'm not holding. They're not going to see the Bulls again.
There was that stint from like 2015 to 17 or something like that, maybe a little bit later, where LeBron just lost. Kept on losing to the Jazz like 8 times in a row. So. Yeah, it just happens.
Just teams, right? And it's the regular season, whatever. Mm-hmm. And it's funny. I'm going to go on a short little tangent again, but it's funny how people care about the regular season and then don't care about the regular season. Just
oh my god,
there's some right. Like the Warriors are 73-9, so they're the greatest team ever. What? No, they didn't win the championship. They're not the greatest team ever. Well, they won 73. Well, okay, but this team, this team had more wins than them, in the regular season, and I beat them. They were a 61 team. Oh yeah, but they weren't a good 61 team. Oh, so now it doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
The Raptors. This one I love. Well, they only beat the Warriors because KD got hurt, and then later on in the series, Clay got hurt. But they were 3-0 against them in the regular season. Oh yeah, but that doesn't matter. It was the regular season. Well, which one is it, guys? Like the games matter. They don't matter. Like pick a side, and it's people flip-flopping. We're gonna stay on LeBron for a minute. He had a week, and then we'll get to some of the other stuff that we have because there's a ton of stuff. How do you feel about this Stephen A. LeBron feud? I guess let's call it that.
We talked to like it's weird because like, when you weren't here a couple weeks ago and Ori B and I talked about it, we both just agreed that like it was just a whole bunch of nonsense, and Stephen A. had just kept going and going and going. And I understand from Stephen A's perspective as far as it goes for like Like obviously, like LeBron's not perfect in the entire situation, but at the end of the day, it just feels like that Stephen A is just using this as like a perfect opportunity just for clicks at the end of the day, as everyone says. But I don't like I don't know if you wanted to stay on Stephen A or if you wanted to talk about LeBron and the McAfee show, but like
we'll get to
all of them. Yeah, but like I just don't understand it from Stephen A's perspective at the end of the day. Like I know that and as I said, he just like signed a massive extension with ESPN, so maybe he just feels like he can do whatever he wants at this point. Maybe it's that he's trying to grow an audience. I know people are saying, like, people are like joking around at the idea that he might run for president, and which is why he's having some controversial figures on his podcast. So I don't know what Stephen A's end goal is here at the end of the day, but he's been more unhinged than I've seen him since I started watching him back in 2013. I want to say.
So it's interesting that, you know, people have come out and said, oh, he's just doing it for clicks. And I laugh and I'm like, that's his job.
Yeah.
That's his job. Like there's guys I see, especially on Twitter more than anywhere else, seems to be, but where they pull up these articles, like newspaper, like clippings from the 80s and 90s. And they say, well, look at this. This is proof that, you know, Jordan was this or Bird was that or Magic was this or whatever. Look how toxic the NBA was. And I laugh and I go, that's because you're an idiot and you don't understand how this works. So let me explain it to you. They needed to sell newspapers. That's how they got paid. So they would put a headline that was controversial and write an article that was controversial for people to love or hate, so that people would go back and be like, what's the next thing this person's going to do or say? And people would go and buy the newspaper and read the articles. And the more newspapers that you sold, the more money that you made. Then this stupid thing called the internet came out, and people were like, I ain't buying any more newspapers. And if you look in most major cities, like newspapers are all but dead, but they've all moved online. And what do you have to do now? Well, you got to get clicks. How do you get clicks? Well, you got to say some shit and get people to be like, I can't believe he said that. That's so outlandish. That's so crazy. So what was Stephen A before he was a TV personality? He was a beat writer.
Yeah.
And right. He wrote for
journalist,
the news. He was a journalist. He wrote for the newspaper. The only difference is now you're doing it on social media and sometimes with a camera in your face. It's the same thing. So when they say he's doing it for clicks, yeah, duh, that's how he gets paid. The more people who click on his content, the more people who watch ESPN, the more people who watch his podcast, the more money he makes. Why do you think they paid him $100 million? So yeah, what's he going to do? Well, I just signed $100 million. FYI, by the way, this is 100% like written by Stephanie McMahon. This is a wrestling storyline script if I've ever seen one. Okay. Hey, you just signed $100 million. You need to get a bunch of people to watch you. How do you do that? Well, you go for the most popular athlete in American sports, right? And I say American sports because like the Ronaldos, the Messis, guys got way, like people think LeBron, this is the other part. The US thinks like LeBron's like this super popular guy. Nothing. He's nothing compared to some of these soccer stars.
I used to be like that because I remember I was talking to a friend one time at a barbecue. We were talking about like just like iconic sports figures, and I said, "Oh, MJ." He's like, "No, Pele's more famous than MJ." I'm like, "Oh, I don't think so." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "No." Just like I know that MJ's global. He made basketball global, but at the end of the day, it still doesn't light a candle to like some of these soccer figures.
Yeah, exactly. So what does he do? He goes for the biggest ESPN fish, which is LeBron. And so that makes total sense. Now, what he said, let's go back. What he said to LeBron wasn't horrible. What did he say? He said that, hey, your son isn't NBA ready, and everybody feels like it's because of you that he's getting minutes that he hasn't earned. I don't think that's a controversial take at all. Now, I'm talking to you as a father. Okay. Listen, that's his job to be a little dramatic, right?
Yes.
Talking to you as a father. Just please don't do this. Right? Okay. But we all understood he was doing it because that's his shtick. So then LeBron, knowing he's being filmed, what's he really gonna do? Like, is he Will Smith? He's gonna slap him like Will Smith slapped Chris Rock? No, he can't do that.
How long do you think they would have suspended him for if he punched a guy in the sideline for? like probably not long, not too long, but like maybe like I'm thinking 3 or 4 games, maybe.
If it was anyone other than LeBron, they'd be gone for the season.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, I'm talking just LeBron. Yeah,
LeBron, 3 to 5 games.
Yeah,
which would have coincided with his typical March break, anyways. So he can go visit his pharmacist. But yeah, he wasn't going to do anything. And then, like, this is why I say it's scripted. So it feels forced to me. So he says that. Then coincidentally, he's at this game and LeBron comes to him and it's all being filmed. And then the next night, now this is coincident. The next night, Bronny James is playing up against a bunch of second stringers and, he scores 17 points and we act like he dropped 50. By the way, another rookie, Dalton Connect, also had 17 points in that game. Nobody talked about at all. But I showed, someone tried to argue with me who he scored it on. I'm like, yeah, he scored like 13 of the 17 against Ryan Rollins. And everyone went, who's that? I said exactly. I go, exactly. If you could tell me one thing about him, and they all went, yeah. I said, so, and then what did he do the next night? Again, he goes over. But coincidentally, so he goes for 17, and then Stephen A. Maybe I was wrong about him. Yeah, maybe he is NBA ready.
For name's sake. Yeah, come on.
Right? Like, no, stick to your guns. And then, so now we go into, so then when LeBron's not in his face, he's like the bad guy, right? It's like one of those WWE promos, right? Like the good guy jumps into the ring and everybody's like hightails it out of there. And then when they're doing the little promo videos, they're like, I'm going to kick your butt. But hold on, just a second ago, you were in the ring and you ran out like a scared little kid. And now you're talking all tough when they're not there. It's so a WWE promo. And then he goes on Pat McAfee. And that one really bothered me because, one, what network is that show on?
Stephen A's.
ESPN. And who's going to make money when he goes on Pat McAfee? ESPN.
Yeah.
Well, ESPN, and in turn, the guy that they just gave $100 million contract to, and everyone was like, well, yeah, but it was right after Stephen A's show, and so it showed that he snubbed him. I'm like, no.
Not at all.
What I would have done, and maybe that's just me, if I really wanted to hurt him, I would have done a show at the exact same time as First Take. At whatever time in the morning. What time in the morning does it start?
10 to 12.
All right, 10 to 12. Okay, so at 10 o'clock, I'm going to go on FS1 or heck, he could have randomly picked our show and said, hey, guys, that morning at 10 a.m., tell everybody, tell the world, LeBron James is coming on your show to talk about Stephen A. Smith. No one's watching First Take.
That's right.
That would actually hurt Stephen A. because, like, damn, he just went to another show and just, like, completely ruined us, right? That would have hurt. You don't go to the same network. Like, that's like when people said, oh, it's Pat McAfee and they tried to make it a black and white thing. No, I don't. No, I don't care. But I don't care. No, it was the fact that he went on the same network for me. Then he said a whole bunch of crazy stuff on that show, which made it even. I think it hurt LeBron. Like, did you watch? I'm assuming you watched. Or
yeah, for sure. At the end of which I think one of the things that makes like LeBron cool, or like one of the things that like people don't talk about a lot is the fact that Skip Bayless has been talking a ton of crap for him for like literally 2 decades now, and he hasn't said a word about him. Like, I think that's one of the funnier things about him. The minute that Stephen A. opens his mouth about him, it's like the end. It's like the end of the entire world.
Well, because he was defending him for all those against Skip for all those years, right?
Mm-hmm.
He feels like maybe again. That's why I think it's scripted. But sorry, continue.
Oh no, yeah, and I'm trying to think of like the other things that he said, but it was let's
go through them. So he said the thing about Stephen A. Obviously, okay, so we got that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Then he said Giannis would score 250 points if he played in the 70s.
Yeah,
ridiculous, stupid,
just totally trying to please the 15-year-olds on Twitter. Yeah, like
it's actually irresponsible. Because he's trying to appease the 15-year-olds on Twitter. You're absolutely right. But here's a guy who, for the last 21 years, has bragged about what a historian of the game he is, and how he appreciates the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, all of that stuff. And he, understands all of the, how you can't compare eras. And it was different, and there was different rules, and there was, and there was different, and he's on record as saying, like, you can't expect to put someone in a time machine and put him back there. So let me ask you this. So if Giannis was born, first of all, he never would have made it to the NBA,
No.
because in the 70s there was no chance that how many Nigerians were playing in the NBA. And I'm saying his family, because he never would have made it to Greece, because Greece wasn't allowing people from anywhere into Greece at that time. But so how many Nigerians? Zero. So let's say he still found a way and made it to Greece. The nutrition was completely different. So he would have been that skinny kid that we saw at the beginning. That's the same kid we would have seen. So you would have had, okay, a 6'10", 6'11" skinny kid with a limited skill set, still athletic and all that stuff. Okay, how did those guys do in the 70s? Okay, good. I'm not saying, like, could he have competed with, Bob McAdoo and others? 1,000%. But he can't shoot free throws. There was no three-point line to spread it out at all. So yeah, would he have been a 20-point per game scorer? 1,000%. He's too talented and athletic not to be. But find me, you don't think I could find you 10 6'10" athletic dudes in the 70s who couldn't shoot free throws? Like, he I won't say a dime a dozen. I don't want to discredit him that much. He still would have been a superstar. He still would have been an all-star, all NBA. But I get it. He's exaggerating to try and, like, get people to react. But
just the reality of the situation. Yeah, like just thinking realistically.
Yeah.
Would he? This era is perfect for him. I think this is 7 years in a row now that he's going to finish top 5 in MVP voting. Okay, is that going to be the case if we transport him to the 70s? Maybe. Again, we don't know for sure. But however, just looking at it from the entire way, part of what makes him so great is his strength, and the fact that he's able to take care of his body so well is a luxury that you have today that you wouldn't have in the 70s. So
he'd be there like the rest of the guys from Greece, smoking cigarettes and drinking ouzo. Trust me, he wouldn't be going as well. And again, I'm not trying to knock, because people are going to say, oh, you think this era, that era? No, I think every great player would be great regardless of era.
Yes,
it would just be great differently. So I have this, I'll give you an example. So Steph Curry, right? Someone said, well, he would be nothing in like the 60s because there was no 3-point shooting. And I said, no, he'd be a better version of Jerry West. Jerry West didn't shoot threes, but he was this like combo point guard, shooting guard, who was a great scorer. Well, dude, the way he shoots, the way he gets the rim, the way he can handle the ball, the way he can play make, he would be just fine. He'd have no issues, and he would be that guy. So Giannis would have no trouble being a superstar player. But he wouldn't be like this, like people, oh, Kyrie would, they think he was a sorcerer. No, they teach him how to dribble, because everything that he does now would have been called traveling back then.
Carry,
he wouldn't have been able to get away with that stuff. And that's why I always say, like, and you'll appreciate this because you're a Celtics fan, and I don't know how you feel about Bob Cousy, but I go, the fact that Bob Cousy was able to do what he did when he could only touch the top of the basketball, like not even the
one
side,
hand,
right? Like, that's actually more impressive for him to steal. And I'm sorry if you don't know this, or maybe you do and you don't care, for him to steal all of those moves from the Globetrotters.
Oh yeah, of course.
And then do it with the NBA rules, which were much more strict than what the Globetrotters were doing. That's actually really impressive if you understand what he was doing. So that's where it bothers me he did that. And then the next thing, other than the 250, was completely shitting on his Cavalier teammates in 2007 and saying, I don't even know how I made it to the finals with them. And I'm like, you piece of garbage, because you had everything that every championship team, I'm sure there's an exception. So let me say the vast majority of NBA champions had. And let me break it down for you. And we'll welcome in Jalen Carter as well.
LeBron here.
I was going to say before you did that, you might want to actually invite Jalen on, because I'm pretty sure like his house is going to burn down from the smoke coming out of his ears.
Yeah. So, well, let me break it down. Every championship team, what they have a superstar. Every championship team has a superstar, someone who can give them the ball and they can score in the last minute of a game. They have a secondary scorer. They have a primary rebounder, either an elite defender, interior or perimeter, or significantly high, like top 5 defense in the league. And then off the bench, additional scoring, rebounding, shooting.
Yeah.
When I look at the 07 Cavs, everyone wants to look at the names and say this name and that name because they don't understand how a team works. And let me just say, what did LeBron say about the 2011 Heat? Yeah, we had Bosch and Wade and myself, but we didn't have enough complementary players to win. His words, not mine. So the role players matter. So when you look at that team, they had LeBron, so there's your superstar. They had Larry Hughes. There's your secondary scorer. That's a guy who averaged 20 points per game, so we know he can score. They had Anderson Varejao, who was an all-defensive player. They had Ilgauskas, which in 07, in today's NBA, he's
out of here.
Yeah, he doesn't work. But in 07, a big center who could rebound was still important. They had Mo Williams and Delonte West who could score off the bench. So now, so you literally have every piece. Oh, and by the way, they were the number 4 defense in the league. The number 1 defense, I believe, left in the playoffs, if I recall. But they were number 4 in defense. Everything you need to go deep into the playoffs. Every championship team has those components. That's what wins in the NBA. Okay. Even when you bring all the superstars together, if people don't play those exact roles like I laid them out, they don't win. And I challenge you to pick a team because, like I said, maybe there's one exception. Like you'll find the Pistons who didn't have a superstar. There's an exception. Okay. But how many did they win? 1. So for him to say my team was trash when he had all of these exact pieces that you needed. And by the way, he also had some really good luck. For example, who did they play in the first round?
They played
Washington?
It was a team under 500. I know that. I forget which team though.
It was the Washington Wizards, who I believe were exactly 500. Except they were 500 with their 2 best players, Gilbert Arenas and Caron Butler. Guess who didn't play in the playoffs?
Caron Butler torn ACL? Or was that after?
Butler and Arenas were not in that series. So shocking.
Jameson was on that team too, right?
Who?
Antoine Jameson? He was on that team?
Was he on the Cavs or was he on the Wizards?
No, when they made the finals the first time, he was on the Wizards, I believe. I think that was the Arenas, Jameson, Caron Butler Wizards.
Yeah. The best 2 players left were Jameson and Antonio Daniels. Okay. In the next round, at the top, they're okay. It's the Nets. And they have Jason Kidd, Vince Carter, and Richard Jefferson. And that's an okay team. Except, what was their record for the season, guys?
They're 500.
500. Another 500 team. And Kidd, because we're always going to talk about age, Kidd is 33. Vince is 30. Do you know who their 4th best player was?
Was Kenyon Martin out of there at that time?
Was it RJ? Or is he the third best player?
RJ was third best player. So I don't want to disrespect RJ. Because
RJ was good.
Matters, right? Because when you're facing a team, like I said, LeBron, Larry Hughes, Ilgauskas, Drew Gooden, you want to Varejao, Daniel Marshall, Daniel Gibson. Like there's a lot of scoring and pieces and rebound. Again, no star player. I agree there. But they have depth. So who's the 4th best player on the Nets?
I'm gonna kick myself when you tell me.
No, you're gonna say who? Mickey Moore.
Yeah, no, couldn't tell you. Kenyon Martin was on that team?
No,
he left by then.
Nakbar was the other, and I think Jason Collins was starting at center.
Okay,
the wrong Jason Collins. So then they have that one. Now I'll give you credit. I'll give them credit. In the Eastern Conference Finals, they faced the Detroit Pistons, but it's not the Ben Wallace.
Yeah, the Chris Webber Pistons. The Chris Webber. Shout out Chris Webber, though.
And no disrespect to Chris Webber, but it's the Chris Webber Pistons. And let's give the role players some respect. Game 6, that's Daniel Boobie Gibson's game. That's not LeBron's game. That's Boobie's game. So you have a team that has all the pieces that you need to make a playoff a finals run. You have luck where you basically play no one in the first 2 rounds, and again, so build up their confidence, and they can flow. So for him to say that team was garbage and I don't know how we made it to the finals, like it's like he took all the narratives from these guys that don't know basketball off of Twitter and just regurgitated all to make them happy. And that's why I'm like, that interview, I think, made him look bad for a guy who I thought and gave credit to understood basketball, had super high basketball IQ, respected the game, understood the history of it. So when he throws in all these things like Giannis would have scored 250 and my team.
Hold up, but we got to put that in all this in context too, though. All right, so first we'll address the Giannis 250 thing. One, there's a thing called sarcasm. Okay, the 250 is obviously exaggerated. His point was Giannis from today.
You weren't here. I said he.
Okay, yeah, but a lot of people just want to take, and beforehand he gave credit to those guys in the 70s. Like he mentioned players in the 70s and the greats. So that's what I say. His point was, and I think we agree with this, if you just teleport Giannis with all the training and ability that he got today and put him in the 70s, he would be incredibly dominant. Now, I don't like doing that because, again, the way I see it is if he was born in 1950 and then he would have to play in the 70s, he wouldn't be as good as he is today because training, basketball, it's all different.
He never would have made it.
Exactly, yeah. So but the whole point is if you just teleport a guy.
I have to disagree with you because I think it had nothing to do with Giannis or the 70s. Because if you say what he said before that, it was because when they tell me that I couldn't handle this, like it was his own. It was his way of defending himself, but using someone else instead. Why just not say me? Why not?
A lot of people caught strays. I think Windhorst caught a stray with that moment. This thing was about he just don't give it F no more. Like he's got sick and tired of people always bashing him for this many years, always bringing up his name. He's like, screw it. Instead of talking about it behind the scenes, he's just gonna go on a show and just address it up front. In some way, you don't have to like it. I kind of respect it. I think a lot of players think about talking like this out in the open, but they kind of realize, it's probably not the best thing to say.
Do it on his own show.
I mean, hey, why did he go on McAfee? Maybe he thought it'd be a bigger platform. I don't know. Maybe let's get back at Stephen A. a little bit right after first take on Pat. A little bit.
You missed that too. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
I'm just saying it could be a little bit of that. Whatever the case is, that's regardless of what it was.
You weren't here, so let me ask you: him going on an ESPN show makes who money?
ESPN money?
Yeah. And who does ESPN pay $100 million to?
Stephen A.
So how does that hurt Stephen A?
Maybe he wanted to let you know what it is. Stephen A. ego is a little up there now. He got the $100 million contract. He is kind of the face of the network. He's getting up there. But let's be clear, he will never have the impact of LeBron James, whether it's worldwide, America. This is the thing, though. Stephen A. starts talking like he's at the same level as someone like a LeBron James. So I think LeBron, maybe he went up there. He went up there to be like, hey, Stephen A., you stole my son. You want to
hurt Stephen A? You want to hurt Stephen A?
No, I'm not hurting Stephen. I'm just saying, I think Stephen A. He wanted to check Stephen A's ego a little bit. He wanted to check Stephen A's ego a little bit. So he went on the Pat McAfee show. So
you want to check his ego? You want to check his ego? Do another show at the same time and watch how more people watch his show than Stephen A's. That's how you hurt him. That's how you hurt him.
I might have done that too. Maybe his team had another thing. That's all fine. That's cool. But think with LeBron, again, everything that was stated there, again, with the Cavs thing, do I think it was a bit of an asshole move to throw his team?
It was. You can admit it.
Yeah, no, for sure. I do think that. Now, do I think he's correct in the sense of that's the most untalented team ever to make a final? Talent-wise, I think that's the worst team ever to make a finals.
Then you don't know anything. Then you don't know anything about
tell me a less talented team.
81 Rockets. 81 Rockets.
I'm not mad. I think the Cavs are less talented. We can have that debate. Robbery. What was Robbery?
The 90s. The early 2000 Nets.
No, that team was definitely better than that Cavs team. That's wild.
What?
That Nets team, 100% with Jason Kidd leading that team, 100%. Kenyon Martin was on it. Kenyon Martin is better than everyone on that.
If you think Jason Kidd is better than LeBron James.
No, I mean,
LeBron James matters because people want to say, well, take LeBron James off that team. No, he's on that team. So with LeBron James, that Cavs team is better than the Nets. It's better than the Rockets.
Hold on, I'm gonna to that one. I'm thinking J Kidd. We got Kenyon Martin. 01, right? 01 finals, 2001. Let's bring up this roster just to double check, make sure. Look at it.
And Kidd took them to back-to-back
Wait, what am I saying? Oh, wait, 02? What year, Fluent? I'm thinking 01. I'm thinking Stephon Marbury there. Am I tripping?
It's 2000. It's 0102. Like it's the 0102.
0102. So okay, I went the year before my bad by that. Okay, yeah, so bring up that team.
Yeah, it's Jason Kidd, Kenny, Kerry Kittles, Keith Van Horn.
Keith Van Horn, Larry Hughes. You know,
a 21-year-old
right
Jefferson.
Yeah, Richard Jefferson was a young guy.
Starting center is Todd McCullough. You want to make fun of Ilgauskas. Ilgauskas eats McCullough's lunch.
Yeah, but Kenyon Martin's the second best player on LeBron's team easily. You think Kenyon Martin's better than everybody on LeBron's team that he would play.
But it's a team. You got to look at the
team. I understand that the build of the team definitely matters. So I do think that's
the gap between Kenyon Martin and let's say Larry Hughes was the second best player on the Cavs. The gap between Martin and Hughes isn't as big as the gap between LeBron and Kidd.
LeBron was good, but Jason Kidd was up there. We're not going to act like Jason Kidd was not the best point guard in the league at the time.
I think that I think the main argument is that like take the best player off on every single championship team ever who has the worst supporting cast. You can argue the 07 Cavs, you can argue the 18 Cavs, you can argue the 81 Rockets, you can argue the 94, well, I always forget 94, 95 Rockets, whichever the 8 seed was, the 6 seed was at the time. Or
94, because 95 had Clyde Drexler.
So 94. You could also argue the 99 Knicks as well. Like they were an 8 seed, so I know that was luck every too. So you could.
They're way better than an 8 seed though. Don't go just because that was more shortened season and there's
could be right with the Nets thing just because they don't have any backup point guard. There's no one else generating. Yeah, no, I hear you. Even though LeBron was kind of the only guy generating shots for his teammates, that Nets team, I'm trying to think of who's the second guy to generate shots for his team.
This is kind of helping LeBron's case, but like I actually feel like 18 Cavs were worse than this.
Oh, the 18 Cavs injuries without a doubt the biggest carry job in NBA history. That's because they were injured. So let
me give you the 81. Let me give you the 81 Rockets. So after Moses Malone, so you're saying if you take him off, you have a 32-year-old. Now keep in mind, 32 in 1980 was like 42 now. So you have a 32-year-old Calvin Murphy. And then there's gonna be guys that you've never heard of. Robert Reed.
Okay.
Rudy T at 32 years old, not coaching. No, he's playing. Mike Dunleavy, he's not coaching, guys. He's playing.
Wow.
He's a good shooter. Duke legend, right? I'm just saying.
Good shooter who's shooting under.
Duke legend.
Alan Lavelle.
Couldn't tell you much about
Billy. I know. Billy Pultz.
I've heard of him.
Garrett. Like you don't know Major Jones. Like you don't you know why you don't know any of these names? Because they weren't that good.
And now, what do we take to account relative to the team they were facing? Does it change the argument?
I want to be very clear. Hold on, be very, very clear. They played the Celtics.
Those are the Stacks Celtics. Wait, the Bird.
Hold on, and let me
Larry Bird averaged 15 a game that series. Let's like
hold on. I want to be very clear.
Yeah,
we're talking about a Rockets team with Moses Malone that went 40-42. This was a garbage team. With Moses Malone, they're below 500. You take him off?
I hear you. I mean, we talked 20. You know what? 2018 does have a better argument than the
2018 has a very good. 2018.
Jeff Green. I don't know because the injuries. His love was hurt for.
That's another one though. Just because his road to the finals though he had to face that was a very easy path though. They had to go 7 games against Victor Oladipo. They had to go. They swept DeRozan and Lowry, which is the most underrated part of that series.
I was gonna say respectfully, when Oladipo is your best player, and I know he had a run. You're not really
it wasn't an easy series though. Like watching that, it was
no, it wasn't.
It wasn't an easy series because they weren't a good team. But it's not like it's okay. But let's be clear: you take that Cavs team, whether it's 2018, 2007, and you put them in the West, where they would have had to face the Lakers, the Spurs, the Warriors. They don't make it to the finals.
I know,
right? There's things that happen every season, and look, you play who's in front of you. But when he says again. That's my complaint is when he disrespects that team, knowing how good they were as a collective. You're not the 4th best defense by accident, right? So when you take the collective and you disrespect them, just because one of them was banging your mom, like that's wrong.
That's crazy. That's I hear you. I hear you on that.
Because
Again, I think they caught a stray.
He knows collectively that team was good. They're not great. They're not going to go down in history. I've said they're top 3 worst team to make the finals. So I'm not hyping them up like beyond like to say they were this great all-star team that should have won. No, I agree. They should have lost, and they did. They got swept. But to say they were trash when you know that was a good collection of teams for you at that time, and you had an easy road to the finals and you made it to the finals, there's no need to call them trash. There really
I'll
is.
say that. There wasn't a need to call them trash. You know, you could have said they were undermanned or they ran into an all-time great Spurs team.
He could have said, you know what?
He for sure.
He said the same thing in a different way by saying just like, you know, when we started the season, we were young and inexperienced. You know, we hadn't had, you know, even though we had good players in, you know, Ilgauskas, who was an all-star, Verjo, who was an all-defensive player, Larry Hughes, who was a really good scorer. Like we had a lot of the pieces, but none of us had that playoff experience to make it to the finals. So I was really surprised that we made it. It was so impressive. He could have said the exact same thing, basically suggesting, hey, we sucked, without actually saying we sucked. And that's my whole point, is that whole interview, and this is the part that you missed, and I don't believe him and Stephen A. Smith are even feuding. It looked like a PR guy just wrote out a script. I said, Stephanie McMahon, this is a WWE script to build up ESPN. That's all this is. That's all that that's a 100% all I can see this.
It's like, and I know like I'm kind of moving on to like another talking one here, but like just like the whole Stephen A thing of saying like, oh, why aren't you at Kobe's memorial? Who the hell cares? Again, like this is like all a script, like because like it's just one of those things where like people say like, oh, you didn't care about this enough. No, I do not care that LeBron James, even if he was there, first of all. Second of all, even if he wasn't there, I do not care that LeBron didn't go. He wasn't friends with Kobe at the end of the day. Like I know people talk about romanticize the idea of, like they weren't close. They didn't like each other. Like until very closely until the unfortunate.
No. Kobe never liked him.
No.
Again, he said they were getting closer after he retired, which I think that Jordan thing was so spot on. Jordan's a little sensitive. I always thought Jordan is sensitive. He'd be big fans. Charles Barkley, he gets sensitive for anything people say about him. I think that's his character.
He is. Yes, he does get sensitive.
Yeah,
but
he's a little sensitive. And the whole LeBron GOAT thing, he's a little sensitive to that.
It's too blatant lies. It's too.
This is LeBron though.
Yeah, this is LeBron, so you know he's lying. So the first one is that him and Kobe were somehow friends. They were not. Okay, Kobe did not like LeBron, and when LeBron became a Laker, the one thing about Kobe that everyone either has to know or should know is he bled purple and gold. And so when he became a Laker, he's like, I support you now as a Laker.
You think Kobe liked him during that 2008 Team USA?
According to the woman who did his facials, he did not. But that's the only source I have. So take that for what it is.
Maybe you like cracking jokes. I don't know. It looked like they obviously we just seen a couple of jokes laughing.
Maybe they got along because they had to at the end of the day. Like
it's working with us. Sometimes you just work with people who you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I laugh and giggle with people I work with, and then the second I walk out the door, I'm like, oh, I can't stand that. I hope no one sees this. In an old job, not an old job.
Not the new one.
Good save.
And with the Jordan thing. Is part of it the constant GOAT kind of debate between LeBron and Jordan? That 100%, because we know Barkley criticized the Hornets, and that ended their friendship with Barkley. So yes, is he petty? The most petty person in the world.
Releasing of the documentary when LeBron wins. I'm just saying,
he takes it personal 1,000%. That's what made him so great. But to say something that I know factually is incorrect, which is, it's because I'm still playing that we don't talk. That is 1,000% false, because we know for a fact he talked to Kobe, who was the closest thing to him at the time, right? This is pre-Bron. Kobe was the guy, the heir apparent, and he talked to Kobe. He mentored Kobe. He was there for Kobe. They were friends. He became Kobe's big brother while he was playing.
But LeBron did add, though, because of the GOAT conversation, he doesn't want to be friends while they're playing. Maybe after, but Kobe, there was never a conversation between who was better. Everyone understood Jordan was better.
There was a
LeBron
conversation.
There was a conversation, but it wasn't as loud as this. It wasn't as
because social media wasn't so big and it wasn't everybody talking about it. But yes, there was a conversation. It wasn't.
And LeBron's much better than Kobe at the end of the day too. So that's the other thing. But
yeah, I think Jordan knew. You know what? Kobe's great. I'll help him out. You know, he can come to me for advice stuff because he knew he would never catch him or be better. Well, LeBron, he knows. He's just like, all right, this debate is real. It's close. Like Jordan knows it again. I think Jordan is smart enough and understands that.
LeBron has to pass Magic first before he can get to Jordan.
We ain't even having that conversation. Ain't worried about that.
Yeah, I'm gonna post it. You guys are gonna be very, very surprised because I'm doing a piece where I use every single point that LeBron fans use for the LeBron versus Jordan debate, and I'm going to use the exact same arguments for Magic versus LeBron. For example, you know how they say, well, Jordan takes way more shots and gets more free throws than LeBron, and that's why Jordan averaged more points. Well, guess who takes way more shots and shoots more free throws? Magic or LeBron?
LeBron.
LeBron.
I'm gonna do a piece on John Havlicek and Jordan, and use Jordan fans our logic. 6 rings. I'm gonna just be like 8. Oh, and that's it. It's gonna be Havlicek.
Jordan fans who say 6 rings.
That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the intelligent ones like you.
I don't
the 6 rings crowd. That's all I see on Twitter. That's all you see on Twitter.
I don't deal with dumb people. So he takes way more shots, like almost like 6+ more shots per game, 4 more threes a game, and more free throws, just to average 6 more points. So if you do the math, if Magic, because this is what they say, if Magic took the same amount of shots, he'd average 10 more points than LeBron, because he's also more efficient, shoots a higher field goal shooting percentage, higher free throw shooting percentage. Oh, and by the way, he has 4 more assists per game. And the same amount of rebounds. So and more steals and so everything that they use, if you flip it to Magic, you're cooked. And so I won't give it away all because there's way more than that. I just gave you the top level stuff that everybody already knows. So you're gonna like that one. And
Jokic has a lot of those. You see,
and I enjoy, and here's why I enjoy it the most. You may or may not know this. Jordan and LeBron are not, neither one is in my top 10 favorite players all time. Magic, however, is my favorite player all time. So if I get to talk about Magic, oh yeah,
you get Magic on the show. When you get Magic on low, fluent.
I've been talking to his booking agent, and
expensive.
No, but she's like, he doesn't do podcasts except for like his friends. So you'll see him like on James and those types of things. And I almost like I think I sent enough that they kind of went, well, okay, we'll see if he ever does like a thing of this or that. And I'm like, but I have this. And Shaq really said it would be a great interview. And here's the interview we did with Shaq, and he's been on our show a few times. So, and they're like,
Shaq on that same show. And just tell him to.
And I said, it would, that's actually, you write it out of my playbook, Jalen. Trust me. Right out of my play. So I'm working on it. But that's why I think it's scripted, because the only people who are winning right now is ESPN.
It's true. I mean, look, there's a lot of eyes on ESPN and what people thought was a dying network in a lot of ways. So it is intelligent with that.
100% is a dying network, and they need to come up with some money because their new NBA deal kicks in, and they're paying the NBA a lot of money for games. Like
that they are. I know the subscriptions are down. People just aren't, paying for television channels like that as much as today. It'll be interesting. But hey, it gives people some time. Shout out! I think it's cool because you usually don't see athletes address it. Like like with I don't know if you know why, like hockey players are so respectful. Like you would never hear anything like this. They just always give the right politically correct answer. Never this. So this is a entertaining. Shout out for LeBron for bringing some entertainment.
How do you guys feel? Sorry, any other points on the Stephen A. versus LeBron thing?
I think Windhorst is such a great guy.
Is there a winner? If this was Kendrick Drake, we'd ask for a winner. So is there a winner so far?
I mean, between LeBron and Steph, I think, and Stephen A., I think LeBron has had, even people don't like him,
I agree.
Beating Stephen A. Smith, but they'll still say it's a bad look for LeBron as just by himself taking away Stephen A. Smith.
There's a sorry, there was one more point. So we tried to talk about all
Yeah.
the thing. He talks about the media and how the media kind of ruined the basketball discourse. And I really want to put it out there again. And I know I already won this debate a couple of weeks ago with Ori. But I really want to, because it came up again with LeBron, is I want to point out, don't blame the media. It's not the media's fault. You watch and you click on the stuff that you want to see and you want to hear. And there's a reason why they talk about those things. And I think I don't know if I share this, but when we did Fluent and Chill, me and Chill interviewed the VP of analytics at ESPN, and he showed us like 70 something, almost 75%, it was a little bit lower, but almost 75% of all the like requests and clicks and comments are about LeBron or LeBron James adjacent. So why do they lead with LeBron James or Bronny James with every episode? And you're like, this again, like it's the summertime. There isn't even basketball, because that's what people want.
That's true.
So, why is there a debate show? Because that's what you wanted. Because trust me, there's still shows that like talk about actual basketball, talk about X's and O's, teach about the history, right, of the game. But you don't like those shows. And I'm not going to pick on. I'm going to pick on them a little bit because you and I have both been on Player's Choice. Mm-hmm. Well, Player's Choice was built on the back of arguing and fighting, and they've evolved, thankfully. But that's how like the first 100,000 subscribers on YouTube.
You get the viral moments. You get two people going at it.
Yeah,
and LeBron this.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, me and Chill were doing our still do our show, but when we were doing our show, the guys on there, like all of them, Ron and Shaq, all of them were like, your show's the best. You and Chill, that show you guys do, like you don't argue, you don't yell and scream, but you give all the information. They're like, that's the best show. I love watching that show. And those guys still watch. Like you can see Ron and Ox and all those guys in our comments. And again, at the time, it's evolved now. I like PC better now that they've kind of eliminated it's still a little bit, but
I think you're giving them too much credit, honestly.
Shout out my guy Hayes. He went off on Penn today on playback.
Of course, just today. Probably, but I feel like it got better. But it was built on this controversy and that's what people watched. And so if you think about it, you go back to what was it, Cold Pizza, and then First Take, and all of these shows started this kind of debate style show because everybody was clicking and watching it, and now everyone's mad that they're doing these types of shows, but you're still watching.
I will say
you don't watch any other time.
That's true. I will say there is a dramatic and noticeable difference between how basketball, especially with the LeBron James, Michael Jordan thing, is talked about, versus let's say even Ovechkin. He's about to break the all-time goals record, which is very similar to the Kareem scoring record. People that would never be touched. Gretzky played in a more scoring era. Ovechkin's doing it. Mm-hmm. Talk about Ovechkin leading up, and he's about to break it. I mean, maybe not by the end of the season, first couple of next season. He's most likely the greatest goal scorer of all time. What a great player! There was never any like bashing about it or bringing up. But there was a celebration. Well, when it comes to Jordan and LeBron, it's on both sides. Always a but or an attack on the other versus a celebration. And I do think there is a group of people in the media at NBA who are prominent today who grew up in the Jordan era and feel like they need to defend Jordan in that process. Because there's a very strong focus side of that.
I get the feeling to defend. And I've even told you, he's not even in my top 10 favorite players, but I get the feeling to defend because everyone that I come across who has LeBron at 1, even if they have, or they say they have Jordan at 2, they speak about him and that era so disrespectfully and without knowledge and with lies and with these narratives. For example, there's we done with the 90s. Jordan had no left. Jordan.
That's a stupid trend by the idiots too. That's like the Jordan 6 championships crowd. You can't take him serious.
But hold on. But that has got all the stats are fake. All of those things are used every single day every single day to discredit Jordan. So I always say, if there's so many negatives, how do you possibly have him 2? Because I'll tell you, and you know this, when I do the debate, I tell you, I have Jordan 1, I have LeBron 2, and it's the biggest compliment that I can give a player is having LeBron at 2, because how many active players are on my top anything list?
0.
And the answer is 0, because I don't rank active players in an all-time list, because I want to wait until their career is done, with one exception. LeBron James, which tells you in how of high regard I hold him. But because I have him at 2, or because I have Jordan at 1, I'm a hater. I don't know anything about basketball. I'm a 90s freak. What's my favorite era?
Today.
This one. So how do I hate it? Well, why are you always defending it? Because you, not you, the general people, you guys talk about it like they didn't know how to walk. And they didn't know how to do this. And you try to bring up examples, not knowing, look at these guys. They didn't know how to, the big man couldn't do this. I know. There was only one scorer on the team. Yep. Do you know why? Because that's the way they thought it worked. And they built a team around a facilitating point guard, a scoring 2, a Swiss Army knife 3 who did a little bit of everything, literally a power forward who rebounded and defended and probably would punch you in the face if you got
second center. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. If you got in the superstar's face, he'd punch you in the face. And then a shot blocking defensive center. And if they could score, great, but they didn't shoot, and you didn't want them to leave and shoot because they needed to stay in the key and block shots. That's how they built the team. So yeah, if you look at every single team, they're almost all, again, a couple of exceptions, but they're almost all, because they couldn't find the players. Otherwise, they were built that way because that's what won. So
I will say too, though, I think it goes both ways. Where I think the older generation, again, I'll compare it to hockey too. When I hear Bobby Orr, Mark Messier, Gretzky talk about players today, it's all love and praise, talking about the growth of the game, this and that, and it's always positive.
Well,
and again, same thing for the players today. When they talk about a Gordie Howe, who's kind of the equivalent of like a Bill Russell will say, it's always, he's still in everyone's top 5. Like, he's without a doubt, no one bashes it. Like, it's all love and praise. But again, in basketball, I see a lot of older people, whether it's Charles Barkley, Shaq, weren't even that old, kind of always kind of bash this era. And again, a lot of these modern players, they're kind of like, hey, you guys are bashing us. We're coming back right at you with, if we teleport back in your day, we'd be dominating. Like, it is a lot of disrespect going back and forth, I feel like.
So I think that goes back to Fluent's point of like we watch what's they say what we want to hear, and we love like not us in particularly, but like the audience loves hearing Shaq and Chuck bash today's NBA. They love hearing Shaq talk about how the Pistons are an awful team, even though he doesn't know that they're actually above 500 and they're a great team this year.
He doesn't watch.
Yeah, like they don't enjoy hearing KG defend the current era. They don't enjoy hearing Magic and Bird. The Magic and Bird actually talk about how awesome this era is all the time.
Jerry West showed love too before he got
Jerry West. Trying to think of other ones. They're there essentially. Yeah, like there's far more like younger guys that are not in the league right now that talk about today's game than not like than the media will suggest.
The older guys though, two things about the older guys. You have to understand, for the last 20 years, they've been hearing how crap their era was. And if you hear it long enough, eventually you start to fight back. To compound it, they're jealous. They're jealous because in the 80s and 90s, they were making $1 million. And what they did was save the NBA. They saved the league and made it hundreds of millions of dollars. And they made $2 million. Like when Magic signed a $1 million a year contract, everyone freaked out. And now you have guys who stink. I can show you guys who stink making $20 million a year.
That's why Magic's okay with it, though. He praised the new guys because he has all those movie theaters and he's still a billionaire, so it's cool.
Magic's okay because he turned his millions into, I think he's almost a billionaire.
Basically is. Yeah.
So he's a billionaire. So he's okay. But for the other guys who like, like no offense to Chuck, but I don't think
but Chuck's still getting 20 million. Yeah, no, he's still getting his money. I think like Dr. J, I don't think he's really
like a Dr. J. These guys who like, they're living normal lives when they're like, oh my God, like I would, if for 1 year, if I would have made $20 million, like I would be living totally different.
Yeah.
And so again, I think it's the combination of the two things. Just imagine someone, and I know I'm going to go dark here. Someone abuses you every single day for 10 years. At some point, you pick up a knife and you strike back.
I hear you. Yeah, you're gonna hit back.
So I think there's that component, and then there's a just inherent, I think, jealousy of, because I think even Charles Barkley has said it. He's like, how much did he sign for? They signed him for $20 million. He can't even
the money thing will always be a jealousy factor without a doubt.
It'll happen. Like I said, you're man, just imagine you're a Celtics guy. So imagine they gave Jaylen Brown $352 million. Is that what he signed?
307. No, I don't think it's 350. I think it's only 307. If I'm mistaken.
Okay,
it's like 60 million.
Imagine they said to Tatum, "Sorry, you're only getting 100."
He'd be pissed too.
He'd be pissed.
Very, yeah.
They had to pay him more, and don't think this is new. What was it? Bill Russell when he signed his new deal with the Celtics? Again, it's all these Celtic guys, they're greedy. When he said, he go, I don't care how much you give me as long as it's more than Wilt, and they paid him $1 more. They've always cared about money and who gets paid more. Always.
It's actually funny because I'm pretty sure that when Kyrie left the Celtics, and then I'm pretty sure that Danny Ainge signed Kemba Walker for $1 million more than Kyrie signed with the Nets. So yeah, it's there for sure.
Yeah, it's there. So to think now that, so again, you've been making fun of my generation for a decade, and you're making 10 times more than I made. When Chuck and Shaq, and I'll use those two because they're kind of the most predominant, when they look at these guys, they're better than 99% of the guys in the league.
That's true. I'm not fighting on that. Yeah, that's true.
They were, right? And in their prime, they're better than 99% of these guys. And they're like, damn it. Like, how the hell is Pascal Siakam getting $30 million a year?
I still think Shaq would be the best player in the league today. So, I mean, I understand him being mad. He'd be the best player in the league. I think Charles, I think top 10. Probably be top 10, maybe top 15.
100%. Yeah, would be a top 10 player. Absolutely. So I get it when you see, like, now you're gonna make me look. You guys keep talking. I'm gonna look up who's making what.
Yeah, that's got a shot. I think Windhorst caught such a stray. I think LeBron was just really in the moment, kind of really pissed off at everyone. He showed that shot out at Windhorst. The Windhorst had such a nice, classy response. I'm like, oh, he's such a nice guy. I can't be going like I just can't go at Stephen A. But it's like picking on the nice guy. It's like, I think
since we're
America, it's like America picking on Canada. Like, what's wrong with you?
Right? It's like, yeah, what are you gonna do?
We're buddies.
What are you gonna do?
Yeah. Since we're talking about media pieces, like, I don't know. Like I'm sure Jalen's gonna find a way to defend this. I'm sure the Fluent's gonna was I probably rolling his eyes more than I was last night. Just watching Nick Wright totally fanboy over LeBron last night was like the most cringeworthy thing I've ever seen. Like, dude, you're
on TV. What are you talking about? Someone's telling guy on TV, Nick Wright. The statistics that he backs up with all his points.
You are a grown man. You do not need to with your wife. You do not need to totally
show him love. What's wrong? Wait, you dap him up. Like, look, if I ever see Fluent, I'm gonna dap him up. What's up? See the what? Like, it's love.
If I saw
he looked like a teenage girl fainting over Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
Show him love.
And then after he did that, then he offered LeBron his wife. Let's be clear.
He said, "Why? This is my wife. This is crazy. Y'all now y'all be disrespectful."
Go watch. He said, "Here's your prize."
This is crazy.
No, it was as if you're going to be a media member and pretend because we know that he's not, pretend that you're impartial. That was such a bad look, especially when we all know you're represented by his media company, by Clutch, right? Especially because we know you had Jordan 1, LeBron 2, then you signed a deal with Clutch, and then they flip-flopped. Like, he's such a fanboy, it's ridiculous, and it showed last night. It was such a bad look. And Nick Wright, to his credit, is actually does know his stuff, except when it comes to LeBron. He completely fanboys out and loses all sense of any journalism integrity at all. He has zero journalistic integrity when it comes to LeBron.
I mean, he's open about him being LeBron the GOAT. Like, he doesn't hide it.
In fact, what's that?
Like, he just he's open about, like, LeBron's the GOAT. He's like, he doesn't hide it. You know what I mean? Like,
I never said he hid it.
Oh, so I mean, what's the integrity problem? Like, it's if he's open about it, is it
because he lies about, you said, his stats and his facts, and he lies. I got him I got his top 10 things that he lied about. And like I said, you're supposed to be a journalist. You can have him as your GOAT, but you don't have to be a fan.
Is he a journalist? Or is like
Yes,
opinion?
absolutely. He's a
I
journalist.
don't know, because I've always said this, like
he was at the very least before.
I always say this because it's like when me and my friends debate,
I was just a fanboy.
No, when people debate like the Fox News thing, and I always say some of the opinion people, they're not journalists.
Right.
So like, look, I might disagree with them, but it's like, hey, they're an opinion show. So I just don't know. I mean,
100%,
if he identifies as a journalist, and that's different, but I don't know. Does he identify as an opinion host or a journalist?
That's yeah. Like
You know what I mean?
He calls himself a journalist.
I mean, in that case, okay,
So-
sure. In that case, that's a little problematic.
if
Like, could you? I'm trying to think of another scenario, where
If I saw Jason Tatum walking down the street, I'd dap him up, like I'd be like, oh, I'm a huge fan and everything, but no, he was I feel like it was just a whole nother level. Like maybe I'm nitpicking just at this entire thing, but I just feel like it was like,
and Nick Wright,
it was a whole nother level.
He debates a Jordan guy, whether that's Skip Bayless, Rob Parker, he cooks him.
Say it again. He looked like a teenage girl meeting Michael Jackson, like he was going to faint.
He cooks Skip Bayless.
I ain't even a teenage girl, and hey, I might faint if I met Michael Jackson. What are we talking about? It's Michael Jackson.
Chris Broussard wins every time, by the way, whenever they debate LeBron Jordan. I don't want. Yeah, so maybe.
I mean, sure. Chris Broussard the one who does the best, but everyone else gets cooked.
Yeah, for sure.
So let me give you some names of people. What number do we want to do? 15 million? What's the number you want to do? All right. Here's some names of guys making $15 million or more, which I understand. Shaq and Isaiah Stewart, Max Strauss. Max Strauss.
We didn't even talk about that.
Denny Avdija. Denny Avdija.
Denny Avdija's good.
I like that.
Really good.
I like Denny. I like Denny.
Grayson Allen.
Duke legend.
Zach Collins.
That's a backup big.
Malik Monk.
He's actually good. He's
six men of the year.
I'm not saying that they're bad.
They're just not Chuck.
D'Angelo Russell.
D'Lo.
Duncan Robinson.
But if I was just like 6'4", 6'5", could have got a backup job in the league.
Jakob Pertl.
He deserves more. He's good when he starts.
He makes $20 million a year.
That's good, actually. Yeah, 20 is good. 20 is good for
him. Bruce Brown.
He's making like, what is it, 27? Or is it?
23 million.
23, jeez.
This money is still, it's kind of recent. It's only for the past, 7 years, I want to say this money's been this big. Because I remember LeBron, even like in the Heat days, I look at the contract, LeBron got, I think, 15 or 14, which again, good money, like a lot of money, but it's like, it's 15, 14. Like now when you see the 60, 70 mil for these top guys and 20 for the thing, it's like,
Jordan Poole.
Yeah.
I'll give you the next 3 years. 29, 31, 34.
JJ was right. This is why athletes in the NBA don't go broke anymore. Remember those before, back in the day, so many athletes used to go broke. Nowadays it's kind of rare.
It was a majority before, yeah.
Majority. Now it will be rare for these guys to go broke.
That's incorrect. Athletes are still going broke.
I want to say NBA players.
I don't think it's as common though.
72% 3 years after retirement, and here's why. Even making $500 million. Okay, no, let's say they play because don't forget, we're talking about averages. We can't pick the average NBA player still only plays 5 years, right? Makes X amount. So here's the thing. Let's say you make $10 million a year and you play 5 years, $50 million a year. All right, so let's take away half, $25 million, because you got to pay taxes. So here's what so you've made $25 million, not in one big chunk, okay? But $25 million. What do the morons do? They buy a $10 million house.
Yeah, a couple cars, couple chains.
So now there's $15 million left. Over the course of their 10 years, there's $5 million in property taxes. They now have $10 million left. They don't think about food, utilities,
cars,
travel, gifts, cars, insurance, the second home that they bought, and so the problem is now they have a lifestyle where they need to get that $1 million check every week or every month, whatever. Yeah, every month it's $1 million check because we're using a guy who makes 15 million, so $1 million check. The problem is that $1 million check stops, and if you've done the $10 million house, $5 million in cars, well, now first few months of the $no million check happen, and now you can't afford to pay it, and now you got to sell your house, but the housing market dipped, and you still have and you probably have a mortgage on it. Let's be honest. So it's just like now what do? I have 40 of my friends who I'm paying. They're on my payroll, and now I can't afford to pay them, and it's this huge snowball because they don't realize the money doesn't. They
forever, yeah.
live the life like the $1 million is going to come in every single month, and it's not.
Yeah, for a lot of players, like you said, no, for sure. You know, after 30,
all the guys, for every one that is fine, there's 3 that are broke.
I do think it happens less though today. Like I do that. I don't hear as many stories of broke NBA guys, or of known NBA like mediocre players. Then back in the NBA, like in 2005, I saw a lot more broke. Like more Derek Whites of the world in 2005. I think I see more of them go broke versus today, where Derek White is making $15 million a season. I don't see them going as broke as much.
Okay,
I think financial literacy has become more commonly talked about, and
okay, give me a player that retired 3 years ago. Here, let's look at is there a list of retired players?
There's got to be somewhere.
Okay. What players?
So I remember a lot of those in like the 2000s. After they retired, you just hear stories. Even like the Antoine Walker was a big one.
You still hear it though.
Yeah, I'm trying. Who's the last NBA guy that came out as broke that's been recent?
Well, but that's I don't know that they come out.
Well, I just feel like today there's so many more resources in order to like stay financially stable. That's the one thing.
The one thing I think that really costs players, I don't think they realize. I don't think even athletes, sometimes people with money realize how rich you have to be is to fly private all the time. People understand how expensive that is, and once you've done it once or twice, if you get accustomed to it, like there's people. If you make $10 million a year, depending on how much you fly, you still can't fly private every time. That's not a thing. 20 after taxes, no. Like to fly private every time, you really have to be making like 30, 40 million a year. Even then, like it can get real expensive. To fly private every time,
it's super expensive. But
yeah,
if you want to fly private, take a look at our sponsor, BadgeJet, BAJIT. Your first flight is on them. BadgeJet.
BadgeJet. Oh, so
that's why I use.
Look it up.
That's who I use. I like them. They're good.
BadgeJet.
BAJIT.
Yeah, I see the site right now. Okay, book a jet, flight tracking. Okay, jeez.
But you can find there's good. You can depending on where you're going, what kind of size, what kind of.
Flying private like to the States, you can definitely you get a group of people. Obviously, price was not bad. It's when you have to fly over water, going like Europe or something gets ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. I don't need to go that far. So like I'm having, I'll be honest, I'm having trouble finding out like their net worth. But the list of guys is here. I'll give you some of them, and I guarantee you. So if I look at the guys who retired in 2020, Vince Carter's fine. Carter's fine.
Yeah, played for a million years.
Andrew Bogut, don't know.
Never heard about no.
Evan Turner.
He's been on a couple clubs.
He signed like one big deal and then kind of I don't know how much money did he even going to make career, like 70 mil?
Marvin Williams, Wilson Chandler, Corey Brewer, like Michael Carter Williams, Thabo Fesalosa.
He retired in 2020?
Yeah. Willie
really?
Cauley-Stein. Okay. I guarantee you half of these guys aren't like, listen, let's be clear. When we say broke, they're living, normal.
They'll be living in regular suburbs. Yeah, they could have $1 million house instead of
they're not living like you expect an NBA player to live. They're not living like that.
Yeah.
Just not.
It doesn't really start. What about like an all-star?
But that's okay. But we're talking about
the top. Yeah, that's top. Yeah,
we're talking about the average. So yeah, an all-star is going to be different. But hey, there's always the Delonte Wests of the world.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Yeah.
He wasn't in the 90s.
He was 2000s. He was 2000s guy. 2000s guys, it happens more. I don't see it happening as much as after 2015. I'd have to look into it again. Maybe it takes time for them to get broke. Maybe they have a little bit, and
Well, it typically takes 3 to 5 years after retirement.
And that's when they come out.
Yeah. Now, and that listen, and the thing is, we only have the stat for the 3 to 5 years that 72% are broke. We don't know. What about 10 years? What about 15 years? Because that's actually the worst part is when 10 years, 15 years, and now your back starts to hurt, your knees are gone, you need surgeries, right? You're walking with the cane. Like that's unless they get into coaching or something else, or they've invested. There's a guy, if you look at the richest NBA players, like that are still
the Wendy's guy,
that are still the richest, like I think I have a list handy actually.
Yeah. I don't one of them. He was a mediocre guy. He owns a bunch of Wendy's. I read that one.
Yeah, he was smart. He took his money and he invested. And I'm going to find it. It's here. It's close. I feel it. It was right before. There we go. Okay. So richest NBA players. So you guys want to take a crack?
Yeah. So one would be Jordan. After sale.
One. Yeah, Jordan's number one.
LeBron two LeBron.
LeBron is number 3.
3.
Is it Curry? Is it Curry?
No, that's Curry.
Curry's number 10.
Oh, okay. Okay.
This list, this could actually be the top 5, with one exception, could be your GOAT list. So
okay.
Jordan,
Magic 2?
Magic is 2.
Oh, Magic and LeBron.
This would be my new GOAT. Jordan 1, Magic 2, LeBron 3.
Okay.
I'm assuming Kobe isn't on this list anymore. Like, yeah.
No.
Okay. Yeah. Is it Bird?
He would have been, but
would have been. Yeah. Yeah. Is Bird on the list?
Bird is not on the list.
Bird is not on the list. No.
Okay.
Oh, Shaq.
Oh yeah, obviously.
Shaq is 5.
5. Okay. Oh, so we're missing 4.
Um,
It's for the Wendy's guy. I know he's worth a couple $100 million, but I don't know how high. I don't know his name.
on.
You got to give the name. I'm not gonna the Wendy's guy.
Kevin Durant?
He had a bunch of Wendy's. Kevin Durant does have a. I know he's big in Silicon Valley. Him and Andre Iguodala.
Kevin Durant is 8.
Okay. Kevin Garnett.
No, he got a ton of money stolen from him.
No more Kevins.
Okay.
I can't think of the name.
I'm running through my all-time list right now. In my head. Hakeem Olajuwon isn't on here, right?
Hakeem Olajuwon is number 9.
Is he? Wow. Okay.
So just to recap, you've got Jordan at 1, Magic at 2, LeBron at 3, Shaq at 5, Durant, at 8, Olajuwon at 9, Steph Curry at 10. You're missing number 4, number 6, and number 7.
4, 6, and 7. Okay.
Don't look it up.
Is guys that just like who maybe not made a ton of money in the NBA?
Here, I'll give you.
Is Charles Barkley on this list?
Charles Barkley's not on this list, but I'm going to give you a hint. Okay, the Wendy's guy, if you can think of his name, on the list. A current player is on the list, and a former Detroit Piston is on the list.
Isaiah Thomas?
Not a starter.
Okay.
Adrian Danley?
No. Back to the current day players. Is it Giannis?
No.
Current day player.
Durant.
We said Durant. We said Giannis.
A bench Detroit guy too, who's good in business, who probably just has some crazy investment somewhere.
I'll give you a hint. He heats up really quickly.
Klay Thompson? Dame.
Detroit Pistons?
Detroit. No, Detroit.
The bench player from the
bench player from the Pistons.
Yes.
Is he active?
No, a bench player from the Bad Boy Pistons.
Oh, okay.
We're talking about the 10 richest NBA players of all time.
Bad Boy Pistons.
The microwave.
Limbeer?
Oh, you guys don't know the microwave? Okay, Vinny Johnson. No. Okay.
Oh, wow.
Off the bench, he just so quick. So Vinny Johnson is at number 6. So you're missing 4, the Wendy's guy, and 7, the active player.
So it's not Jokic, is it?
It's not Jokic, but he plays on the same team.
That's him, Jamal Murray, Aaron Gordon. He must have some crazy
DeAndre Jordan.
He has this guy must have a wild portfolio.
Hang on, like what? I'm trying to think of like a guy, like an investment, like a business guy. I don't even know.
First year on the Nuggets, if it helps.
First year in
Russell Westbrook.
Okay, yeah, that makes more sense. Yeah.
He must have a great good portfolio.
Okay.
So I'll reveal the full list of richest NBA players. Number 1. Do we want to go 10 to 1 or 1 to 10?
Still 10
Doesn't
to
matter.
1.
You
10 to
you
1.
go to-
Coming in at number 10 is Steph Curry. Number 9, Hakeem Olajuwon. Number 8, Kevin Durant. Number 7, Russell Westbrook. Number 6, Vinny, the Microwave Johnson. You know why Kevin Durant has more than Steph Curry? You know why Curry's 10th and Durant is 8th?
I know Curry lost a bit of kind of
It's because he's married. Kevin Durant is single. Number 5, Shaquille O'Neal. Number 4, the one you guys couldn't guess, is Junior Bridgman.
Yeah, I was
He was just like, he took every cent that he made as like a role player and made every right investment. Number 3 is LeBron James, who is a billionaire. Number 2 is Magic Johnson, who is more of a billionaire. And number 1 is Michael Jordan, who is over 3 times the net worth.
The only multi-billionaire on this list.
I believe 3 point something billion dollars for Michael. So imagine just selling a couple of shoes. Imagine where Magic would have been. He was offered that Nike deal that Jordan took, and he turned it down.
I was gonna say, I think a lot of players in the 80s and 90s had deals where they could have got equity in these companies when they're still young. So a lot of them had opportunities. No? Or was it the 70s? Some year they could have got equity in these companies.
The thing was, when Jordan signed his deal with Nike, that had never been done before. No one people had asked. They were like, they would not give them.
Who did they offer? Maybe it was the 70s guys? No, some players were offered it. Was someone's story?
Magic's offer didn't include equity.
So the guys before, because I know some players did.
None. Jordan was the first one. Like, that's just not how they did business. And his mom, the movie's fairly accurate, is that his mom negotiated it with the secondary guy at Nike, and they kind of went and they kind of just gave in because they're like, okay, we're gonna go all in on this. And they probably could have just, because you know what the funny part is? There wasn't really a risk if you think about it, because if the shoes didn't sell, well, then they weren't going to pay him anything. Like, it was okay, $250,000. It wouldn't have killed them. They were a shoe brand for runners, like actual track athletes. So it was interesting that they made it seem like this huge thing, but the only reason it became huge is because he sold a bunch of shoes. But anyways, so yeah, that's your top richest NBA players. Junior Bridgman is your Wendy's guy.
Wow.
as you would call
smart man.
Wendy's guy. But that's the thing, most guys don't just think about it. On that list, think about it. There is Jordan, who played in the 80s and 90s, Magic, who played in the 80s, a little bit in the 90s, LeBron, who's current, Junior, who was in the 70s, Shaq, who was in the 2000s, 90s and 2000s, Vinny Johnson in the 80s, a little bit in the 90s. And then
how does Vinny Johnson have his money?
Same thing, investments. He was he that's a dude that was dropping 20 a game. Like he was smart with his money even from then. But and then it's current Westbrook, current Durant, Olajuwon from the 80s and 90s, and Steph. If you think about it, there's more guys, I think, Curry, Durant, Westbrook, LeBron, 4 out of the 10 are current players that are still playing.
Interesting.
Right? And Michael, Magic, probably just as many from back then. You would think this would be littered with guys. It should be guys from the 90s when the salary started to go up because they signed the big deal with NBC in 1990. I think it was $600 million. That's when they all started to get paid $2, $3, $4, $5 million. But it's not there's it's surprising that, like I said, there's just as many guys from
I think a lot of people in those times would have lost some good amount of money in the .com bubble. I'd imagine, especially if they had it in the market when tech stocks were really booming. They
put it in and took it.
Sure. I mean, yeah, if you invested in Amazon or something, it would have been crazy. And then I think guys in 2000, a lot of them, the real estate portfolio crashed in 2008. I guess those guys did have the real estate market crashing and the .com bubble were two very unique events that people in the 90s and 2000s, I think, had to experience. But these guys nowadays, Silicon Valley and tech guys will target athletes. Athletes know about, I think Kevin Durant did a whole interview and Andre Iguodala talking about going to Silicon Valley, starting their own fund and just investing in these companies with
Yeah.
brilliant tech minds. So again, like I said, the information out there now just seems to be a lot more. Good for them.
We're way over time, but do we want to quickly talk about the Grizzlies firing their head coach with 10 games left in the season?
It's just weird.
And they're like in the playoffs?
Yeah,
It's weird because no one's really talking about it anymore. Maybe just because you did it on Friday and like people just focusing on the weekend and like, no talk shows. Like maybe I don't know how many talk shows are going to actually talk about it.
I haven't heard anybody talk about it.
No. The only thing I saw was that some people valued their assistant, now interim head coach, more, and they don't want to risk losing him. They think he's more of an asset than Jenkins. Which I'm obviously not in the Grizzlies locker room, so I'm not sure how much I can value that. But just getting rid of your head coach in end of March is just wild to me.
Well, let me ask you, coming into the season, whether it was LeBron and AD or if you knew that LeBron and Luka, JJ Redick as the head coach, and then you knew what was going on with the Grizzlies, which team would you have expected to do better?
I had the Grizzlies as the 2 seed, actually, so maybe I'm a bad example. But yeah,
Grizzlies as the 2 seed?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's strong. 2 seed is strong.
Really high.
They were 2 up until a few weeks ago. So yeah, so it's not like it was a wild take, but they're the 4 seed now with John Morant playing bad. So it's not like it's
they're the 5 seed.
Okay, like it's like half a game or a game behind them.
So you had Memphis over the Lakers.
Yes.
Jalen?
I think Memphis. I don't consider Memphis as any sort of threat in the Western Conference.
Yeah, and maybe because I'm a Laker fan. Most of the people I talked to had the Lakers over Memphis this season. So at the time of the firing, you're in the 5 spot. You're in the 4-5 with the Lakers, and you have the identical record. And everyone's praising what a great job JJ Redick has done, having LeBron and AD, and then LeBron and Luka, and here Ja and like
Desmond Bain, Jared Jackson Jr. They have a nice balanced team. They have a
good team.
But the expectations, I don't think, were very high.
Well, like the Grizzlies have had injuries all year long. John Morant is
but that's my point. So if I'm looking at it as externally, again, not being in the locker room and hearing the conversations with ownership, et cetera, and the GM, who knows? But I'm thinking, going, well, hold on. If I have the same record as the Lakers, who have 2 top 5 players, and we're supposed to be better than us. We got the same record. 1 more win, and we're going to have home court advantage in that series. The timing was really, really strange.
John Morant's call. This was John Morant's call.
You think so?
100%. No. Yeah, I mean, I read the report that he was happy with the offense, the way they were playing. I think if he's clearly your star guy, the face of your franchise, I don't see how this happens unless the face of the franchise says that. So he had the reports of him not being happy with how the offense is being run. To me, it's very similar to Darren Williams and Jerry Sloan. What happened in that situation?
John Morant doesn't have the pull in the organization.
John Morant
has John Morant is loved in Memphis.
Yeah, but
loved by a lot of I mean, ownership. I mean, look, end of the day, carry more.
He's like a guy who wasn't good enough to make the All-Star game this year. Does not have the pull that a guy like
much fired.
I mean, he's the face of their franchise
in March.
Is he the face of their franchise? Do they want him to be the face of their franchise? Like, he's still not that far removed from kind of all that stuff.
But people have love for John Morant.
No, listen, he's one of the few players I told you I'll pay to go see. But is he a face of the franchise? Like, this was supposed to be his prove it year to them. So you can't, in your prove it year, say fire the coach.
I mean,
he also hasn't been playing nearly good enough.
Sure. I mean, look, I don't think he's necessarily had the best season, but like I said, like, does the ownership want him to be the face of the franchise? I don't think Philadelphia's ownership wanted Allen Iverson to be the face of their franchise, but he was loved by the city. The NBA fans loved him, and John Morant has that Allen Iverson kind of cult following to him too a little bit. He doesn't reach the heights of Allen Iverson, but I think that's kind of.
I would have been less shocked Ja getting traded than him being responsible for the coach getting
easily.
I mean, I think owners. I mean, then they made a decision that John Morant's worth more than their coach.
Okay. And what do you think this means? What do you think, more importantly, what do you think it means for the team heading into the playoffs
The Grizzlies, that's no, the other thing. The other thing with the Grizzlies is that they're like worse than the Knicks as far as it goes for competing with playoff teams, like top of the league playoff teams. Yeah, like I talked about a few weeks ago how much I didn't believe in the Rockets. I feel that more with the Grizzlies now. I don't believe in them at all. Like even with Jenkins.
I think they're a first round exit. You could put Phil Jackson as their coach or Greg Popovich. I mean, Greg maybe not, but
Phil's not really a great coach. I
think they're first round exit.
You might want to pick someone better than Phil Jackson.
Phil Jackson disrespect.
No, but Phil Jackson has never proved that he could coach a great team.
I hear you. I think that's very important. No, 100%. I agree with their being able to coach a mediocre team, elevating them.
Yeah, that's tougher. Like it's not easy to coach superstars, but like I've always said, Steve Kerr, right? It's one thing to coach a team that has Steph, KD, Draymond, and Clay. How do you do when those guys were gone or hurt? He won 5 games, right? Like,
I had one guy tell me Larry Brown is the greatest coach of all time, and he gave a great reason. And the reasoning was along those lines, along with the championships in college, NBA, and some of the teams that he was able to win. I'm like, oh, makes a lot of sense.
You can make a case for Larry Brown.
Yeah.
The only knock against Larry Brown really has been that he wouldn't play young players. And had he allowed young players to play, he probably could have developed them a little bit better and won more because there's some really good young players. Like there was a me and Chill get into this all the time because I always say like it's too bad that Joe Dumars made the biggest mistake in what I consider not in the history of the NBA draft, but it's up there. Drafting Darko Milicic instead of Carmelo Anthony, because you put now. Assuming they still make the trade for Rasheed Wallace, you put a scorer who would be coming off the bench, right? So imagine, how well Carmelo could score. You have him coming off the bench for that team. 1, I still think they win the championship. In fact, I think they win it easier. 2, he develops into your starter, and then you probably have, I think it's Tayshaun Prince coming off the bench, which is right, and he's your primary scorer. I believe that the other guys force him to play defense. So imagine an in-shape Carmelo who gives effort on defense. We're having a different conversation.
Carmelo Anthony would be in the GOAT debate. And
listen, he's already robbed of the Rookie of the Year. He's no, honestly, there's never been a
yeah, I'm not mad at that. I think
Rookie of the month every single month. There's never
LeBron won every month too.
No,
I think he did. Close to it at least.
No, he missed
one. Okay.
Did Wade win it that 1 month?
But hold on. But if there's never been a Rookie of the Year. Sorry, there's never been a rookie win Rookie of the Month every single year and not win it. He had better stats than LeBron, and was the team better? Probably, but he was on the better team, better stats, and won Rookie of the Month every month. In any other year, it's Carmelo, and we're not even having a conversation. But anyways, that's not the point of this.
I think Carmelo would have won like 4 straight. I mean, right? His rookie year, they win.
He's rookie year,
they win. The second year when they lose to San Antonio in Game 7 because they couldn't score the ball, they win. I think
that was the one.
Third year, LeBron is not beating that team if Carmelo's on that team. They don't trade for Weber.
They might three-peat because
and then Wade is not beating them with Shaq either. I'm sorry, it's not. That's
literally they're literally we're missing a scorer. It's so funny because what Detroit missed was a scorer, and what Carmelo missed was someone who would make him play defense. It actually would have forced them to be better. Now, again, would him and Larry Brown have been able to coexist because he doesn't play young players? I think he's smart enough because Larry Brown was smart enough to be like, I hate Allen Iverson and the way that he plays. He's too damn good. I got to play him.
Yeah,
right?
Carmelo was just too good. They
figured a way to make it work, but I think Carmelo coming off the bench when you have Ben Wallace, Rasheed Wallace, Tayshaun Prince, Rich Hamilton, Chauncey Billups, like you have enough leadership that they would have. I think he would, like you said. I think Carmelo
and
Anthony,
selfish guys too. Those guys are completely unselfish. Would let him do this.
Carmelo Anthony right now, because of his career, it was one of the most overrated players in the history of basketball. But I think if he was in that situation, I would feel very, very different about it.
Imagine somebody starting their career with 4 straight championships and probably 3 Finals MVPs. First one he wouldn't win, but the second, third, and fourth. He
probably, if he was coming off the bench, he probably doesn't.
Yeah, first one I still give to Chauncey, but the second, third, and fourth, he'd have the case. So you have a guy winning 4, coming off of a college natty.
But I'll say this: I say he wouldn't start, but by the playoffs, if they realized we need the scoring in the lineup, and so they moved, like I said, Tayshaun it's probably Tayshaun that they moved to the bench, and he's a starter. Could you imagine as a rookie winning an NBA championship and Finals MVP, magic, and then doing it again, it's back-to-back season.
See, but the thing is, though,
This is crazy.
They would need Rashid for the Tim Duncan matchup, and they might not trade if they have Carmelo. That's the only thing. They would still have to. They would need G.
I said if they still make that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
There's too many ifs in this scenario for me to consider Carmelo Anthony to put in some all-time great talks because everything has to go well for him in the year. Like that's.
But that's what
you can do this with a lot of other players in NBA.
Not like this though. No, not like this. That situation is very.
Name me one other one that it was that close that it's just one pick that if you would have put him into the perfect scenario that gives the team what they needed and gives him what he needed.
Evan Mobley being drafted to the Houston Rockets.
Stop. It's not the same.
Houston Rockets.
Yeah, no, not
do anything. They're not constructed.
I guess you could say Len bias for those Celtics teams. Larry's career kind of could have been extended because Len would have came in and really took it over.
No, because Larry's on record. No, Larry's on record as saying if Len would have played, I would have retired. I would have left
that year. He wouldn't even play with him.
Yeah, he said I would have retired and given him the ring. Now it could be
that's still a good team,
but no, I think he was in so much pain at that point that he was like, okay, I'm leaving the keys in good hands. I'm out because Len was that good.
I also think that you guys are you being a little too generous to Melo saying that he would easily play defense, which maybe he would earlier in his career.
No, I didn't see him say. I said they would have forced him to.
Okay, Melo is an abysmal defender and an abysmal playmaker. I don't know by putting him in a perfect scenario what would improve that to make him a 4-time champion. That's outrageous.
It's Syracuse. He was a good defender. I think if you're surrounded by a good team. I think players play harder when you're winning and you're on a winning team. And like when you're in the playoffs, you're joining a championship team, you're just going to try harder.
Let me ask you this: is Kevin Durant a good defender?
Yes.
You're wrong. He's horrible. Go watch him in OKC. He is. Go watch him in OKC. Go watch him in Brooklyn. Go watch him anywhere except for the years of the Warriors. Why did he play his best defense there? Well, he was surrounded by.
He was the best defender on Brooklyn, which I know isn't saying a lot, but
defender.
I don't think he's I think he's much better than Melo.
Was it Claxton on that team?
I didn't see, but I'm not comparing. I said, would you call if you're picking out your best defenders? Would you ever think of Kevin Durant?
No,
but he did look like that with the work. Why? Because they were the number 1 ranked defense, and he had defenders in Draymond Green and Clay, and he had those guys around him, and it elevates your game. So again, I agree with you. Carmelo's not a defender. However, if you got Ben Wallace, Rasheed Wallace, Rip Hamilton, like I said, Tayshaun Prince, you're gonna look better defensively just by being there. Yeah. And I would my assumption is he put in a little bit of effort.
One more thing, one more pushback against it though. Say they win in 04 if they draft Melo, and then they somehow win again. Teams are making adjustments to be the Pistons. The Pistons aren't good enough. They're not dominant. They're not dominant enough to win 4 championships in a row. That is
wait, hold up. So that second year, the second year against the Spurs, right? They literally lost in Game 7 because they couldn't score. It was a defensive battle back and forth. You had Carmelo Anthony buckets to that series. They probably win that series in 5 or 6. Okay, then we just talked about LeBron's weaker, kind of the East wasn't that strong. Clearly, we saw LeBron's pathway to the finals. The Washington Wizards that were hurt.
But then you have to go big if they keep Ben Wallace. They
would have to keep all those guys. Yeah, they would need Ben Wallace for Sheed. Yeah, if they make those guys,
you said 4, but I'll give you the back-to-back.
I'm sticking with 4 straight, baby. He'd be in the
outrageous. That is outrageous.
We talk about we'd be like, you know what? Forget Jordan, Shaq, and these 3-peats. It's a 4-peat, baby.
Maybe he was.
Matter of fact, it's a 5-peat. I'm gonna count as Natty too. That's 5 championships in a row.
I'm in a group chat with a bunch of Knicks fans, and I always argue whether who's better, Tatum or Melo, and somehow this is the more frustrating argument.
That's not a debate.
Which on what end?
Tatum or Melo?
Who do you think is better?
Melo's not even in the conversation with Tatum.
Okay, good. Yeah,
okay. That's very disrespectful.
No, it's not.
Very disrespectful. You guys are blinded.
No, it's not.
Put Tatum in 2000.
Melo's not even a Hall of Famer, bro.
Disrespectful. Especially after what he did in college too. Stop it. He had the greatest. Again, it matters. You know, it's a basketball Hall of Fame. Again,
I hate it. I hate it for that. But he's not a Hall of anywhere. He's better not get a number retired anywhere. He's not.
I mean, yeah, number won't get retired, sadly. But hey, I will say this: the greatest freshman season ever. But now Cooper Flagg's come for that title.
Because of his career, he is a scorer. He is a poor, like he's not even Dominique Wilkins. He's like, he can't defend. He can't play.
He's a better scorer than Dominique Wilkins. We're talking about 3-4 high-level scorers. There's nowhere on the court Carmelo couldn't score from. Everywhere on the court he can score from.
That makes him a more versatile scorer. That doesn't
also make him a better scorer. I think
versatility doesn't make you better.
For sure. Doesn't always, for sure.
For example, you can go eat at the Mandarin and they have a versatile menu. They've got everything you want. It's an all-you-can-eat buffet, Chris. Right?
Yeah.
Is it better than Ruth Chris?
Nah, it's not. And I hear you.
So
Carmelo was that quality Ruth Chris food with the Mandarin options. You see what I'm saying? He's Ruth Chris food.
I disagree.
He's Harbor 60 with the all-you-can-eat.
We fall in love with versatility and don't realize it doesn't make you better. For example, another one. Russell Westbrook is significantly more versatile basketball player than Steph. Who are you picking?
Sure, Russ does more.
Every single time you're picking Steph. Every single time. So
I hear you, but I think Carmelo.
What's disrespectful is putting him in a conversation with Jason Tatum. That's disrespectful.
Carmelo is better than Jason Tatum.
But yeah, he's not even more versatile. Like that's a conversation for another day, though.
Not even more versatile. Yeah, exactly.
Jason Tatum is not even at the same league as a scorer as Carmelo Anthony. This is
better shooter. He's a better shooter. He's a 3-point shooter. He's better at the rim. He's better at slashing.
Is he a better 3-point shooter?
Yes.
Relative to the league averages during those times? I think Carmelo's probably a better 3-point shooter relative to the league average at the time.
Who's a better 3-point shooter, Kevin Durant or Larry Bird?
I mean, hey, I'm not even mad if you say Larry Bird. I'd say I'm so high on Larry these days. You don't understand. Like he's in my top 5 type of talk. Like I'm so high on Larry.
Because I was gonna say, because relative to their era,
Larry the go shooter. Larry the go shooter.
Yeah, percentage is through the roof compared to Kevin Durant's.
I'm not mad at saying Larry's the greatest shooter of all time. 2s, 3s, mid-range, and 3 put together. So like I'm
okay. In that case, we're cool. In that case, I'm going to go to bed and leave you with
LeBron James
is a fraud.
Go James.
Kobe
is better.
Top 5.
No. Goodbye.
Oh, Canada.
Put on a suit, drink water. Don't drink and drive. Hey, man, call your mother.
It means nothing. It means nothing.
No, they lying to you. It's about the money.
Now you're more fluent.